Warnings today about scammers trying to take advantage of this outage and those affected. Carmi Levy is a technology analyst. We've reached him in London, Ontario. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, Linda. Thanks for having me.
So we've heard that this has been called a gift to scammers. Why would scammers take advantage of something like this, and how would they do that?
We tend to think of scammers, cyber criminals, fraudsters as these James Bond-like masterminds, these super villains who use incredible technology and incredible knowledge, when in reality, they're lazy. They go after us when we're at our most vulnerable. And so they'll target us in the wake of a major natural disaster, or, something has happened, or a human-caused disaster like this one, when there's lots of chaos, lots of uncertainty. And if they slip a message into our email inbox or our text messaging or our social media direct messages, or they even call us and say they're from, say, Microsoft's support department, we're here to help you, then we're more likely to respond to them, to believe they're legitimate, than if they tried reaching out at another time. So they're always scanning the news headlines and looking for those opportunities to hit us when we least expect it.
And some of these, as I understand it, can be pretty convincing, especially if you're in a bad situation, need access to your computer, and you haven't yet figured out how to get that. If you received an email and it was a scam, what do you do?
Well, the first thing we have to kind of remind ourselves is that companies like Microsoft, like CrowdStrike, like Google, like Amazon, like any other big tech company, they don't just spontaneously reach out to us and say, you've got a problem here, let us fix it. Microsoft's customer support department does not operate in that way. No one's does. And so we have to just assume, just because we've received a message from this company, that we can't assume that it's legit. Our first inclination should be fraud. And so prove to me that you're legitimate. So that's the first thing. If I get a message like that, and I have in the past in the wake of other natural and human-caused disasters, my first thing was to go to the website of the company, get out of the message completely, and log into the website because I have an account there, and then see if there are any messages waiting for me, see if there are any updates from the company, go right to the source, assume that everything in your messaging stream, your email, your text, your social media, is contaminated, is not legit until proven otherwise.
Okay, so if you ended up, taking the bait, you end up in a pretty bad situation, what do you do then?
The first thing you want to do, first of all, is you do take the bait, click on the link, provide your authentication information or financial information or both, or give them remote access to your machine, because that's usually what they're asking for. Then what you really want to do is then say, okay, now I've been compromised. I'm now going to secure the accounts that I have. So change your passwords immediately. Don't use the same password across multiple systems. Contact the vendors of the platform. So, for example, if it's my Microsoft account that's been compromised, I will reach out to Microsoft's support department and I will ask them for their guidance. If it's my financial institution, I'll be calling my bank branch, and I'll be speaking to them directly. And so what you want to do, it's if you think that you've been robbed, first thing you do, you lock the doors in the house and you batten down the hatches, because a storm is coming.
Okay, so other than taking the advice that you've given there, warnings of how to not take the bait, is there anything you can do technically to protect yourself from situations like this, to make yourself less vulnerable?
Well, we can't stop, companies like CrowdStrike or Microsoft from being victimized in this way, or from having just a bad day with an accidental software update. This stuff happens. There will still be outages. Look, a couple of years ago, we had the Rogers outage. There's nothing an individual can do to control it. However, what we can do is we can sort of toughen up our own individual profile so that when the inevitable does happen, we are ready for it. So, for example, don't assume or don't put all of your eggs in that one basket. So, for example, if for banking, make sure that you have a manual method of engaging in banking aside from the app on your phone. Do you have a relationship with your bank manager and your local branch? Have a plan B, work that out before a disaster happens. And then also just make sure that you are following smart password protocol across all of your accounts. Unique passwords for each account. I know it's a hassle, but it makes it easier for criminals if you use the same password across multiple ones. Then they just knock on all of the doors. and then change those passwords regularly, every month, every quarter, whatever works for you, but do change them. And also use difficult to guess passwords. If you're sharing personal information on social media, I can guarantee you that cyber criminals are harvesting it from there, and they're using it to guess your password. So what you should be doing is also reducing your profile on social media. Look at what you're sharing. There's a lot of personal information there. Start dialing back so that you don't give the fuel to these cyber criminals to do what they do.
And just finally, and I only have a few seconds left, but this has been called the largest IT outage of its kind ever, and it is expected to take some time before we fully recover from this. We're still seeing the ripple effect. From your perspective, how big was this, and how long do you think it's going to be until it's business as usual again?
I fully concur. As soon as the scale became apparent yesterday morning, I knew this was easily the largest such cyber event that I'd witnessed in my career. And that's not an exaggeration. And I know I'm not the only one. And this will not resolve itself fully quickly. It will take days, if not longer. In fact, I expect some organizations here in Canada, it'll probably take weeks for them to get back to a normal protocol. And so we should cut them some slack, cut ourselves some slack as well, and be patient and vigilant in the days to come.
Okay, Carmen Levy, thanks very much.
Appreciate being here, Linda. Thanks.